There are many incredible organizations working to restore the health of the Chesapeake Bay. You might be wondering where Chesapeake Conservancy fits in. Chesapeake Conservancy is the only watershed-wide organization focused on both land conservation and stream restoration to achieve a healthier Chesapeake Bay. Our work starts in the headwaters in New York State and goes all the way to Tidewater, Virginia. We work from Delaware to West Virginia across the entire watershed. We do this work through direct programs, advocacy, and dynamic partnership. Our work focuses on three main areas: conserving land, restoring streams, and empowering the entire conservation and restoration community with the latest data and tools, including artificial intelligence, to help focus conservation efforts to have the most efficiency and impact. So we know that it is critical that we work to conserve land before it is too late. Restoration is essential, but to keep pace with development and to account for the undeniable impacts of climate change on our region, conserving land is one of the greatest tools for building a resilient ecosystem.
The Chesapeake Conservancy created the Conservation Innovation Center, or CIC, because we recognize the importance and need for high-quality data to guide conservation decisions. The CIC's mission is to produce data and analytical tools that can guide precision conservation. We believe that to successfully restore the bay and protect the natural resources that we all love, conservation efforts have to be coordinated, efficient, and maximally effective. So we focus on creating data that helps conservation partners focus and prioritize their actions with a greater degree of precision than has ever been possible. What the CIC team is doing is really unique because we're creating data that has never existed before and in some cases has become an industry standard. For example, we produce land use data at 1 meter by 1 meter resolution, which is over 900 times more detail than what had been the authoritative standard for decades prior. In addition, our hyper-resolution hydrography data has identified 2.5 times as many miles of streams throughout the Chesapeake Bay watershed. That's 2.5 times as many opportunities for restoration, protection, and planning that were previously unaccounted for. And these data help us understand the interactions between land and water across all 6 states within the Chesapeake Bay watershed. It's not always apparent how actions on the land are going to affect water quality just from knowing an area. You really need the data to help understand contextually and completely how these pieces fit together. We produce these data both at large spatial scales so that federal and state agencies can use them to inform their conservation approaches, and we also make them available to local land trusts and individual landowners so that these community members can look at and understand what they can do on their own properties that could help conserve and restore the land and water of the Chesapeake Bay watershed.
So in 2015, Chesapeake Conservancy got our first major grant from National Fish and Wildlife Foundation, and we worked with local groups, bringing them together to prioritize where we wanted to work in a few counties there. We found that folks had been working in these counties for decades and in some cases had never even met each other in person. There were lots of organizations that had really common goals, but had never really sat around and come up with a coordinated plan on how they wanted to achieve those goals together. So using the high-resolution data, we literally plotted out on the map where we thought we could make the greatest impacts on water quality and wildlife habitat. We had lots of other partners starting to join the table and ended up focusing on a number of small watersheds where the data told us we could make the greatest impact in a short amount of time and where partners already had some landowners who would be willing to work with us. That program has now grown to include 56 streams throughout 7 Pennsylvania counties within the Susquehanna River watershed. And the Susquehanna accounts for over 50% of the fresh water into the Chesapeake Bay. So our restoration efforts are directly connected to the health of the bay and the long-term sustainability of the ecosystem.
So one of the things that I love most about this job is that the data and the tools that CIC creates are used directly to guide conservation actions. And this is because of the relationships we have with decision makers at all scales, from local soil and water conservation districts to federal agencies. It means that the information that we provide has a direct impact on conservation outcomes.
I'm really grateful to be a part of this community of restoration professionals, volunteers, donors, landowners who are all focused on the common goal of restoring the Chesapeake. You know, it's the little things like planting native species in your yard or volunteering at a local community event to do a cleanup or a tree planting, coming out to support an organization during a fundraising campaign or giving a small donation around the end of the year. All of these things really add up. It's really rewarding to see the results of all of this hard work and to know that what I'm doing every day is going to have a lasting impact.